Hi, my name's Linda Martin, and the strangest thing happened as I was getting ready to do this video. I'm going to be looking at the technique of mock or faux enamelling, and just before I was going to start I had a phone call from one of my customers and she said, "Linda, could you tell me what paints you use if you're doing mock enamelling?" I said to her, "Well, you know, I'm just about to start doing a video, so if you can bear with me for a couple of days you can watch on YouTube." Anyway, let's have a quick look at three of the eggs that I've been doing. So this one was done some time ago. This is our little greetings egg, and you can see here the mock enamelling that I've done on the top decoration. With this design, you just pull out the ribbon with the message on and then turn the spindle and wind it back in again. So perhaps at some point we'll do a video on that. The other one I've got here is my little snowdrop egg, which also includes a little bit of stamping here, and this is outlined in the Japanese silk, which is the same that I've used for doing the message egg. And then a slightly different technique here, and we have an egg where I've used a peel off to apply the motif instead of doing a corded design, and I've just gone in then with the mock enamelling and tinted and coloured that. Okay, so those are the basic techniques. I'm going to be using Japanese silk, and this is one which I absolutely love using. This is the very fine one. Now there are two different grades, and we do this in gold and silver, in the fine and the medium. The fine is great to work with, but you do need a little bit of patience in order to use it. So that's your basic thread. You could, if you wanted to, do the outline using one of the various outlining medium that you can buy. This is the Artiste one by Do Craft, and this one is the PBO version. Now the only problem I find with these is that when you've snipped off the end of the tube in order to use it, you will find that it does sort of squeeze out quite a large amount of the medium. What you can do to combat that is to actually decant this into one of our small glue bottles, and you've then got a very, very fine nozzle on the end, so it's a little bit more controllable if you're going to be doing this kind of outlining work. So that's that bit, and then the actual medium that we're going to be using for the mock enamelling, I like to use this one, which is the 3D crystal lacquer. It dries perfectly clear, which is a bonus. It's also water soluble. Now years ago people used to say, oh, you can't do mock enamelling unless you mix it up with epoxy. Well, you can imagine how much mess you get in if you're using a two-part epoxy glue and you're trying to colour it, and then you're trying to drip it into the area that you want to colour in time before it sets. So using something that's water-based is so much better. Also, the epoxy can have a tendency to yellow as well. So this is the one that we recommend and we also sell. Now, in terms of colouring this, you can actually get colour versions, but I much prefer to use powders because I've got such a wide variety of colours then. So we have these powders, which we refer to in our catalogue as art powders. And as you can see, let's get some more colours in there. A wide variety of colours, lots of shades of green as well. There we are, so there's those. And also you could use the Pearl-X powders. Now the Pearl-X powders tend to be more intense colours. They also do sort of like a metallic finish and an iridescent one, which picks up different colours. It's got a very fine mica powder in it. So these you can use if you want the deeper colouring, which I've used on the message egg. The others you can use with the more pastel colours and achieve that with those. So let's just pop those to one side. I've prepared a few eggs with a design, just taken any, actually the designs came from the basis of the design was actually from a book on sugar crafting. So let's just move these out of the way. Oh, this was just a freehand one that I did. This was another one. I think this came as the inspiration for this came from a book on floral illustrations, and this one again a similar kind of almost an oriental style to that. And then the other one that I haven't quite finished the cording yet because I just wanted to show you a couple of tips for this. So let's just move those to one side and then we'll get some cording. Nice pair of sharp scissors. Let me just find the end of my cord. There we are. This is going to be fun because I'm doing this from a distance, so let's just get the glue bottle. So I'm using one of our fine nozzled glue bottles. Now obviously we've got some fairly longish bits of cording on here, but sometimes you need to do a little tiny piece. So let's have a look at this piece here, this one I think. So we'll just pop some glue. Let's see if I can get it to come out of the bottle. Just pop a little bit of glue on there. There, it's coming now. And then when I take my cord, I'll loop it like so. Okay. And I know you're going to waste a little bit, but this stuff is quite cheap anyway. And then I'm going to actually leave a tail at this end because what I want to achieve is a nice crisp corner. So what I'll do, I'll find my scissors again, just snip that and leave that to dry. And then I'll move to a different part of the egg. So for example this bit, which is going to be a lot easier to do, let's just snip that little bit out of the way. Just for now, that's it. So again, a little bit of cording going on. Let's just clean that bottle a little bit. So there we go. I've not even bothered to paint the egg. Sometimes it's nice to work with an unpainted egg for a change. Now with this one, because I'm going to go right up to the edge of that little coil there, push that right in and then just guide the cording around. If you find that you can't get it to stick properly first time round, don't worry about it, just leave, say, that amount, and then you can go back in when that's properly dried and finish off the coil. And again, I'm not going to cut that straight away. I may find I've got to add a tiny little bit of glue just in this area here just to hold it in place. Now this bit should be dry now, so I'm going to go in and just snip that at an angle. And at this end, let's turn it round so I can get my scissors in correctly. Like so. So that's much easier. If you've got a really, really tight coil, what I suggest you do is you take your cord and you loop it, almost doubling it in half so that you get the tiniest little coil, and really hold that tightly between your fingers and then put the glue down onto the egg, lay this on and just press it down firmly, and then you can release, and with luck it should stay put. But that's something, don't be frightened about just wasting that tiny little bit of the Japanese thread, the Japanese silk, because it's well worth it just to get it to contour where you want it to go. So we'll leave that bit for the time being and we'll have a look now at the basic technique. So let's move this out of the way. So we've just moved everything out of the way and I'm going to be working on this piece. Now what I've done is I've got the Pearl X powders and I'm going to use a toothpick to add some of that. Let's find my toothpicks. Okay, I'm just going to mix up on a board that I have. So I should just show you quickly. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit. What I will say is that when you're doing this, as you add, let's see how that's coming out. Don't need masses. So as it's coming, let's add a little bit more actually, because I'm going to be doing quite a larger section. As you add the powder, so you'll find that the this thickens up more quickly than if you were just using it neat. And to pick up the powder, very, very simple. All you do is you moisten the end of the toothpick. Now, when you're using these powders, what I suggest you do is you give it a firm tap before you open it, and that way you won't find that you've got lots of the powder stuck inside the lid and you've got it covering everywhere. So I'm just going to dip my toothpick, dip that into the powder, which I've just managed to drip on my lovely cream board that I work on. Let's get that a little bit closer. Could do with 2 pairs of hands here. And that is now nicely mixed up, ready to work with. Now, the other problem, of course, with working with a shell is that it is a curved surface, so we're going to have to be a bit careful. Now, I'm going to raise this up so that I'm not struggling to hold it mid-air. So let's just find my cushion. That's better. Right, let's see if I can, at least I've got that supported now, so I've got a free hand. So what I'm going to do now is take some of this. I'm just going to drip it into part of this area here. Now, not too much, because I don't want to start covering the actual design. And in order to get it in the right place, I'm going to use a brush, and I'm literally going to ease that through so that I can get that into all of the corners. Now, what you will find with some of the coarser powders is that there is a tendency for the actual powder content to migrate down the side of the egg. So if you're doing a larger area, you need to be a little bit careful. Just take up a little bit more of this on the brush. You need to be careful that you turn the egg quite frequently so that it's not all gathering at one edge. Let's just pop that right in the corner. The beauty of this, of course, is with it being water soluble, you can just rinse your brush out in water. Not a problem at all. So when you go in with this, just roll the brush to deposit some of the medium onto your egg. Of course, with these darker colours as well, you're going to hide any pencil marks that are still remaining after you've applied the cording. Now, obviously, as it's water-based, you will get a tiny bit of shrinkage as everything dries out. But of course, you can always go back in with another coat if you want to have a really embedded effect. We'll just go up into this one. It's actually quite relaxing doing this. Not done any for a little while. It's nice to use a different technique for a change. I've been threatening to do something on mock enamelling for some time. Now with the crystal lacquer, another thing that you can do is use it neat, but you could actually paint your motif onto your egg and then go over the top with the crystal lacquer, and that way you'll get more of an embedded effect. You could use it, you could even mix glitter in with it. Some of the powders are glittery as well, so that's not too much of a problem. But again, if there's little, slightly larger little granules, if you want to call them that, in the powder, you will find that they tend to separate out a wee bit. Now I can find this is now starting to just go a little bit more. That's it. That's there. I wonder if it'll just allow me, starting to set already. Let's see if I can get that bit in there. I've got rather a lot on my brush. Let's take some off. And this will dry with a really nice shiny finish as well. As I say, if you feel that you want it a little bit deeper of finish in terms of the actual depth of finish, you can go back in again afterwards and do another coat. You could even put a clear coat on. That's something else that you could do. Let's see if I can just manage to get that element of the stem done. Let's just move my toothpick a touch just so I can get to another area. Are you all holding your breath as well? I am. There we go. Getting there. You've also got to be careful you don't dunk your finger into the wet crystal lacquer. That's easy enough to do if you've got a larger area to work with. Well, I think I've more or less exhausted the fluid stuff, so it's probably a good idea to remix. Let's just get that little bit coloured in, if nothing else. I can always go back in with more just to get the density of colour. And there we go. Okay, just try and roll it off. And push right into those tight corners. Obviously you've got to make sure that your cording is well secured, otherwise it may just bleed underneath if you've got a little bit that's lifted. Well, you can see that's quite a good start. Missed a bit there. Sometimes it needs coaxing to go into all the little corners. There we are. Okay, so we'll just pop that down for a second. And let's try and get that at an angle so you can see what's going on. And I didn't bring my wet wipes with me, so let's see what I've got that I can wipe my brush on. Because what I'd like to do is just use a little bit of a different colour just to show you what else can be done. So let's have another squeeze. Let's pop the egg over here for a second. Let's just get another little squeeze. And a slightly different colour now. Where's my other one gone? There it is. So I'm going to do this one. Let's put the lid on the first one so I don't knock more powder everywhere. And as I say, just tap the top just to make sure that the powder isn't contained within the lid. And then we'll just add, just dipping my brush in, dipping into the powder, and just add some colour to this one. There we go, just mixing that thoroughly. finer the powder, the more easy it is to mix. It just tends to colour through really rapidly. Right, let's pop that on my cushion again. So what I'll do, I think, is I'll go in with the new colour, and I'm going to try to add, I might just take it from here, just add some of the lighter colour at the base of the flower. Now, I don't know if I can do this with the brush. I'll see if I can get it fine enough. But sometimes you can use two colours and just blend one gradually into the other, just to give a shaded effect. Perhaps I should have used a slightly different colour for this. You can't really see much of an impact on there, but let's just go in over the top of this one. So again, just a very subtle colour change here, but it's giving that extra depth of finish here, which I needed because I could see exposed shell through the darker colouring. There we go. Okay, not too bad. I think it needs something up here. Perhaps it would have been better to leave that to dry a bit more. But you can do quite a difference in shading. There we go. Right, so that's that one. Put that to one side and then we'll have a look at something else. Well, now I've mixed up a few different colours, so we're going to start applying something to the petals. So I'm going to start off with a light pink. I'm just going to do this area at the top of the petal to start with. Again, just moving that in. I'm going to have to work fairly quickly with this because I've mixed up 4 different colours. So just as before, I'm only going to do the one petal as well, I think, with this, because otherwise I'm pushing my luck. The other thing that I should mention as well is when you're doing this, it might be an idea to work in alternate areas so that the risk of things flooding through is minimised. Now I'm going in with some peach. Not too much, because I also want to add something else to it. So I'm just going to go while it's still fluid. Just going to gently blend 2 colours into each other so that you're going to get this gradual change in colour, like so. And just a little bit more of the peach. Tiny bit. That's it. And then going through into the edges. Isn't it just my luck that somebody outside starts drilling as I'm doing this? I've been waiting for the rain to stop all morning because that sounds like Chinese water torture on the ceiling and on the roof in the conservatory where I work. And that's now stopped. I end up with drilling. It sounds like an angle grinder as well, it's really loud. Right, okay, so now I'm going in with a slightly lighter green. I've mixed up 2 shades of green just in case I fancy doing something a little bit darker. Let's see what happens with this. Now, rather than just leaving that as a blob of the green, again, just very gradually taking it through into the peach colour. So you get a very gradual change of colour. And then just going in with the tiniest little bit of darker green at the base. I honestly am beginning to feel that the best time to film something is going to be in the middle of the night when everybody else has gone to bed. But I don't even know whether the camera's picking this up or not. But I'm constantly aware of the sounds that are going on around. There we are. So again, just pulling that through into the other colour. I'm quite pleased with the way that that looks. And of course, when you let it dry, don't hold it up like this because it'll just all flow down to one end. So make sure, there we go. I may just finish that off, or even just do it on a whole egg and see what I can make of it in terms of another design. Okay, so let's just have a very quick look. So those are your basic techniques. We'll just have a very quick look at some other eggs that I've done using the mock or faux enameling technique. I'm just going to put my brush down somewhere safe, get that wiped off. And let's have a look here. So let's move this out of the way. So some time ago I did a design using a rear egg, and this is, it's actually on a base as well, which matches the top. So this one I've used the technique again where I've shaded the colours, so you can see sort of the darker colouring here going into the gold, and the striking contrast to the blue with the orangey browns. And then inside we have, oh, do you know, I'd forgotten I'd done that. Let's just turn this. Totally forgotten that this was a musical one. Well, I never. This is the trouble when you do things so long ago. So again, the base has been treated in a similar way. And this was based on one of the Japanese Mons designs, this motif here. So that's that. And then I did get slightly carried away at one point with this. This is a half ostrich egg. And this was based on, I have lots and lots of design source books, so every now and again, it's a bit grubby this one, every now and again they all come out and I go through the designs and I look at what I think I might be able to adapt and use on my eggs. So this one, and with it being a half ostrich as well, it was a bit of a so-and-so to mark, I can tell you. So basically what I did is I put the egg flat down on the table and I used the scribe from my gem marker, and I literally marked a series of bands around the egg, higher and higher, so that elements like this coil here was going to be on exactly the same level as that one, even if the shapes are very slightly different. I eyeballed in the line which goes across the middle. I did all sorts of, I had literally lines after lines after lines, and then I started working from one end, doing everything as I was doing it, going down the egg further and further and further. By the time I'd finished cording, and I used the technique where I loop the cord here to these tiny, tiny little bits of cord. Just bring that a little bit closer. I mean, you can see, that's my little fingernail, you can see the size of that little coil of cord, absolutely minute. The only thing that I will do in future, I think, if I were to do this again, is I wouldn't use the crystal lacquer on the surface of the main areas of the shell. I would either, I tried colouring it with the cream powder because it was just a little bit darker than the actual egg, but to be honest with you, it didn't go on terribly well. So I think a different method of working with that for the background, or even just leaving it plain. But I really enjoyed doing this. It took an age, you can imagine. Just turn that round. So there's lots of things that you can do, lots of inspiration that you can get from other things. If you look at things like cake decorating books as well, you'll find that some of the patterns for flooded icing are really quite useful. So there we go, that's given you your basic technique, and hopefully you'll have a go yourselves and enjoy doing it. And we'll see what happens next time round. We'll come back and we'll do something a little bit different next time. And as I say, maybe even do a design from start to finish. So have a look at my website anyway. It's www.lindamartineggdesigns.com. You'll find there's an online store where you can actually buy full-length videos. We've got them on all sorts of subjects now. But we'll try and put more up on YouTube for you to view free of charge, just to get you going, inspire you. And do get in touch with me. Let me know if you enjoy watching this, and we'll see what happens next time round. I have to get my thinking cap on. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye now.